Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To make democracy work, we must be a nation of participants, not simply observers. One who does not vote has no right to complain.
That's right.
Louis L. Amar. Welcome to Meet the Runoff Candidates Forum, sponsored by the Women of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Omega Omega's Connection Committee. I'm Maddie Collins, a retired educator, and serve as the Connection Committee Chairman. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is fully committed to voter registration and educating the community on the importance of getting out the vote. Our goal tonight is to work together to inform citizens about where the runoff candidates for the office of mayor, county judge, and city council stand on issues that will strengthen and unify the Pine Bluff and Jefferson County communities. Our moderator this evening is Mr. Alexander Watkins. Mr. Watkins is a junior at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, where he is majoring in political science and serves as the Student Government Association Vice President. Upon graduation, Mr. Watkins has aspirations to attend the Clinton School of Public Service, with his lifelong goal being community service, activism, and change. It is great to see so many enthusiastic citizens and candidates here tonight. So on behalf of our chapter president, Ms. Toni McCassell, and the Women of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Omega Omega chapter, welcome, and don't forget to go out and vote. Mr. Watkins.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me just first say that I am a bit under the weather. The emergence of pollen is kind of getting to me, so please bear with me tonight. We have some very special guests with us. We have the runoff candidates for mayor, Mayor Debbie Hollingsworth, and Mrs. Shirley Washington. Also with us tonight, we have the runoff candidate, or a runoff candidate for County Judge, the Honorable Reverend Dr. Henry Hank Williams. So, we'll start with the candidates for mayor. The first question: what makes you uniquely qualified to run for mayor of the city of Pine Bluff?
The question is, what makes me uniquely qualified to run for the mayor of Pine Bluff? Well, first of all, I've had 3 years in this position, and I think that I have learned a lot in these 3 years. One of the things that we need to know, that city government is just like running a business. You have a Fortune 500 company, you have a successful business. Any business that is very successful will have a business plan. They will have a vision. They know where they are and they know where they need to go. And my point with this is, when we came into office in 2013, we had a plan. We had a platform that we put into place. That platform was measurable and it was achievable. And when you look at what we have done since 2013, and I'll remind you, 3 years, we have achieved undeniably 31% decrease in crime, undeniably. And what we know is that you have to have a plan in order to do that. You have to know what you need to do. When we were campaigning, we worked with a criminologist for 18 months. When I hit the doors in January of 2013, I knew what needed to be done in order to achieve this type of decrease in crime. Crime was the #1 issue within our city, and I knew what needed to be done. We had a plan, we had a vision, And we were able to measure that plan to know that it was working. When you look at economic development, we had to have a plan. One of the things that we saw was that within our community, number one, there was no code enforcement. Number two, we had neighborhoods that needed to be cleaned. We had to work on infrastructure. We had all of these areas that needed immediate attention. So how can you do that? You have to have a plan. You have to, or you don't know what you're going to be doing. Economic development. Today, we have 4 major companies that have located within our city. And one mega company, 3.7 billion, first phase, that will be located in Jefferson County. You have to have a plan. You have to know what you're going to be doing in order to achieve this. And we've been doing that. We have been doing that. City government. We knew going in city government that we had some deficiencies within a couple of departments. The very first department, community development, we knew there were issues there. We didn't know how extensive the issues would be. But we knew that once we started going through the files, that there were some problems. We identified some of those problems. We took the problems to Little Rock, and with Little Rock and talking to Washington, we discovered that over $650,000 was misspent in community development. We discovered that. Then we had to devise a repayment plan. We did that. What I'm saying is that you have to have the expertise of business. You have to have extensive leadership, which I have had 30 years of running a business, being a stockbroker, investment advisor. I have the business background, and we can continue to do that. But with those expertise, we also initiated the first forensic audit. You have to know where you are before you can go forward. I wanted to know, where are we financially today, or in 2013? So we knew what we needed to do moving forward.
Okay, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. How long do we have? 3? Oh, okay, thank you.
3 minutes.
We're gonna do
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, thanks for having us here. Thanks for those of you who have supported me along the way as we've come this far on this journey. I would like to say to you that I am a graduate of AM&N College. I have worked in the Pine Bluff School District educating generations of our students. I went from the classroom to a building administrator, and I was a very strong, successful administrator at W.T. Cheney Elementary School and then Oak Park Elementary School. I've served as leaders in my educational organization during that period of time. I was president of the Education Association, and I worked very extensively on the State Education Association, and I made many trips with the national, working closely with the National Association. I've worked in the small business with my husband, 49 years. We have raised our children successfully here in Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff has been good to us, and I want to give back to my city. I want to give my talents. I want to give my time. I want to give my energy to this city of Pine Bluff. I think it's a wonderful place, and I feel that one of the things that we need, we have so many challenges ahead of us, and I think that one of the things that we need to recapture Pine Bluff and bring back some of the things that are surpassed is a total unity. Unity between the mayor's office and the city council. Unity between the mayor's office and the city of Pine Bluff. Unity among city, state, and federal government. And the most important thing we need is to make sure that our children know that they're not being left behind. Because any community that you might live in, the most important resources that you have are your children. Because the children are the future. And I feel that we need to spend far more time with our young people than what we are in our city. I feel that we need more activities for our young people, and not only activities, but we need more promising up-and-coming job opportunities for them. I'd like to see us incorporate more industrial education into the classrooms, more of a partnership with UAPB, with CR, preparing our kids who are not college-bound students, those kids who we find are on the page of the Pine Bluff commercial, who are going in and out of the penal system daily. We have so much of that in our city of Pine Bluff. I feel that we need to have city partnerships, and we need to partner with private partnerships and business partnerships to embrace these young people, the future of Pine Bluff. That way, I know that we will become stronger together.
And that is time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
At this time, I would like to open up questions from the audience. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments they would like to say in regards to the answer of the question? If not, we'll move along. So, what can you do to revitalize our community? Both of you have talked about issues that are prevalent, but what will you do to revitalize them?
To revitalize our community, we're going to stay the course. We presented the platform, we have been working on our platform, and we will continue with this. The momentum is great. We are now being recognized throughout the state as being a city that has helped themselves, has pulled themselves up, and they see a resurgence within our city. And it speaks highly that a $3.7 billion industry has now located within our area. That speaks volumes. And when you talk about opportunities for our children, when you talk about opportunities for the students at UAPB with the STEMS program, that is going to be a huge, huge opportunity for them. So we're going to continue the momentum that we have going now. When you talk about downtown, so many people want to know what's going on. Please understand one thing. These buildings did not collapse overnight. We're speaking of 100-year-old buildings. We're speaking of years, or I would say decades, of neglect regarding code enforcement. We've done an inventory of all the buildings. That's never been done before. We know the structure and the integrity of every one of these buildings. And we're now in contacting each property owner to let them know what our assessment is. We are reaching out to them saying this is what needs to be done. And I'm very proud to say that with Mr. Brigg, or Danny Bradshaw, that's working on the 400 block of Main Street. He was contacted recently, and he is hoping to get everything done between the months of May and June. I think that's pretty aggressive whenever you look at the state now, or the condition of the buildings now. But if you look at the buildings from State Street going west, you can see the improvements. So where I'm going with this is that we have to be very methodical as to what we do downtown. And we're doing that now. Assessing the buildings, getting in touch with the landowners, and partnering with them. Not forcing them, but letting them know that these are the things that we see and that we need help with that. We need their help. Continuing with crime. Crime is an event in which we will always be working on. We will never be rid of crime. We will continue to do that. City government, yes, we're going to continue to work on that. The biggest thing, programs for our youth. And that's one of the things that we have got to do. So we're going to continue that.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, thank you. I depend on you to do that.
Can you repeat that specific question one more time, please, so I can make sure that I address it properly?
What can you do to revitalize our community?
One of the things that we will have to do to revitalize our community, and I guess I feel that being an educator, having worked with families for so many years, knowing the needs of families, I think that a lot of revitalization here again starts with our young people. When I look at our parks, I see that our parks need so much. And we have to have recreational activities for our kids to do. I'd like to see us have some activities in each ward for our young people. And some people say, well, we can't afford the centers, we can't afford anything that much that we can provide for our kids. But how many of you saw War Room? Did anybody in here see War Room? If you saw War Room, they had activities for the kids that included what? Citywide jump rope teams. I feel like when we come down to revitalization, we can look at buildings like the Merrill Center. We need to do some things to revitalize that building. And then we need to look through our communities and see what we can do to do neighborhood cleanup and to make neighborhood maintenance, to make our neighborhoods wholesome, beautiful environments once again. And I think that working together we can do that. We have to still instill a sense of pride in our young people, and everything rests on them, because if we're going to change and revitalize our city overall, we have to change the culture. And to change the culture, that starts with your young people. I feel that I like what the mayor has said about the cleanup on Main Street. I think everybody is ready to see Main Street opened again, right? And I feel that once we get that Main Street open, we can continue to work with the building owners down there to devise a plan with downtown development and see how we will restructure Main Street. We have to decide what exactly we want to do with Main Street, because there are many citizens who are saying that we want to bring Main Street back to what it was years ago, and that was a retail center. And I think that anybody in this room will know that there's no way we're going to bring it back as a retail center and maintain a mall. What word? The M-A-L-L, mall, because our mall is struggling. So we can't move our stores from the mall back downtown and have a mall that's thriving and surviving and a downtown retail center. So I think we're going to have to look at some centers similar to the Argenta district in North Little Rock, looking at some of the kinds of things that they've done in downtown areas in other cities. And then we have a restructuring, or we have a demolition effort going forth in our city right now. And as we look at the demolition area, we have to look at housing developments as well.
And that is time. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
At this time, I would like to open the floor for questions. Do you have any questions?
Thank you all for being here. I have one general question, and it's going to be related to the mayor's office as well as to the county judge. We know that K-12 education is critical to our city in terms of, number one, reducing crime and also creating a highly skilled workforce. So what I'd like to know is, what can you do in your capacity from your offices to try to help partner with the local school boards, but also to, at times, put pressure on them to make better decisions for our children and their future?
If I'm understanding your question, how can we partner with them? And at the same time, how can we put pressure on them to do what needs to be done? Well, the school board is composed of elected officials. And so with that, we have a clear understanding that the mayor's office has no oversight or can do nothing regarding another elected official. That's just, you can't. So what we have done from our office, though, we have partnered with the 3 different school districts. We have even raised money to give grants to the students, or the, not grants, but scholarships to the students in all grade levels. We have partnered with CR, we have partnered with University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. We have done everything that we can from my office to make sure that they know that we are available in helping them. One of the programs that we instituted in 2013, when Dr. Watson wanted to do a full summer school program. And the morning was academics and the afternoon was cultural enrichment. We raised $35,000 in about 6 weeks to put on a cultural enrichment program for children K-5 through the 5th grade. And they loved it. But that's what we did. we partner. If they need something at the schools, if there's a celebration at the high school, they call us and we provide that to them. So we are an extension, or we are their go-to person, but to say that we have oversight or that we can demand that a school board function a particular way, we cannot do that. We can just be there for them. But one of the things I do want to say is that as we bring on these new companies within our city, workforce development is huge. And Dr. Alexander and Dr. Hildebrand they both know that. And they both have been very accommodating in structuring a curriculum that will adapt to the changing needs as far as manufacturing goes. And so we keep them abreast of what we know that's going on. They are in the loop with the different companies that are coming in. They know the skill sets that are needed with the different manufacturers that are coming into our city. So that's the part that we do. We communicate with them quite often on all of this. Thank you.
In talking about, as the mayor's talking about things that are going on under her administration, I agree with that. I also agree that we have to build some very strong public-private partnerships that are going to partner with our school districts. We have to make sure that we're also looking at the jobs that are coming in, and I'd like to see the schools partner with places like CR to see that those kids start going into industrial classes while they're in high school, so that we can get a preparatory track going before the kids leave high school. Now, holding schools accountable from the mayor's office, that's a toughie. I've really thought about that, and I've thought about it a lot. But I was thinking about some things that we could do the other day that happened years ago. And I can remember when I first came into the Pine Bluff School District, the mayor's office, the NAACP, there were many organizations that had contests like essay contest, things that helped those kids to think, that structured their writing. And believe it or not, kids were excited about those opportunities. And the packages, the the prize packages weren't that much, $25, $50, $75. But kids were really striving to earn that money. I like the fact that there's a banquet taking place this weekend for single parent scholarships, and I think that we can continue the same thing for our kids in school, offering them scholarships or incentives for successfully achieving state standards on their individual state assessments. I think that's one thing that we can look at. And I do know that the districts do big things on celebrating, and I think we could expand what the districts do to a citywide level. I can remember going to a conference in Baltimore, Maryland, and there they had a struggling school district. And in that district, they did partner with the city, and they had a citywide banquet every year at the City Convention Center for those kids who made standard. And they brought in a huge speaker from across the country every year, and that became one of the most shining school districts in the Baltimore area. And I think it was accentuating the positive, giving those kids positive input constantly on their improvements. And I think that we can instill the pride in our students, which will enable them to become far more successful than the excess rate that we're experiencing today.
Good to see you also.
Good evening. Good evening. I didn't get the beautiful orangish, reddish memo, so I'm obviously, pardon the way I'm dressed. I'm Hank Wilkins IV, I'm a county judge, and even though they have said we do these different, since Dr. Rice has asked this question, I'm going to take a shot at it also. One of the things that I bring to the table is my experience with the legislature, and there are so many resources and opportunities available to school districts, to cities, and to counties. And what we need more of in our community is collaboration. Because when you take a school district and a city and the county, and all go after the same funds for specific things, you can get some things done. And that's one of the things that we haven't done a good job of, and I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying it falls to the superintendent and the school board to make sure we have the best school districts possible. It also falls to the mayor and the council, the county judge, and the quorum court members to make sure that we do whatever it is we need to do in order to enrich the lives of our young people. And I'll just close with this. I know I'm going to be shorter than well, no, nothing negative intended. I'm a preacher, so you know, folks always say, "Oh, these preachers talk so long." So I want to talk shorter than the mayor and the principal. But I want to close with this. When communities really get to understanding just how important education is, and you have an environment of collaboration, we can all be proud, because that's a part of what it takes in order to attract business and industry. When they look at a community, one of the first things they look at is the schools, and then after that, how the city and how the county function. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Raynard Bivens, and I have a question dealing with, are there any plans in the making to kind of reduce the amount of money that is spent on the landfills and increase the money spent on recycling in the city? Because currently there was a removal of the site off of Ohio, and it was moved to Harding. However, in the main parts of the city, which would be more accessible, it would be probably better off to have something also, a satellite place, to deal with the waste, because very little of the things we dispose of is actually waste. Thank you.
I'm gonna let Ms. Francisco go first. I've been going first, so you go first if you want to.
She's letting me go first, but I'll be very honest with you. I think that was an ideal question for the county judge.
Unfortunately, he only asked it of the mayor.
I don't know whether your bottom line question was whether we can have a satellite recycling center someplace else in the city. I know the first part of your question stated that we had our recycling center, you said Ohio Street, but I think it was Pennsylvania Street, off
Yes.
Ohio on Pennsylvania. Is that the one you're talking about, sir?
Yes, it
And then it was moved to the building behind the Pope Furniture Store off East Harding Street. Now, I'm not complaining about that building because I love it. I love it because I can go there rain, shine, sleet, or snow. And for the last whatever number of years the one was on Pennsylvania, I go there once a week or once every 2 weeks. As far as moving it to another area, I do agree with you that I want that one to say where it is, because I like driving through that building, dropping off my recycling items, and I love the service that I get when I go there, and I go there on a regular basis. But I agree with you, it's near me, it's near the side of town where I live. I'm here on the east side. I feel like we do need to have some satellite stations in other areas of the city. What I would really like to see us get to one day is what they have in a lot of cities that I visit and that I go to, and that's curbside pickup. I think we would have to educate our people. They'd have to get used to making sure that they sort things the way they should, not putting garbage in the containers where the recyclable things go. As far as the money going here and there, I've heard a lot of discussion about that. Here again, I think that's a question for the county judge. Sir, recycling is big in my life. I mean, it's huge. I taught kids to recycle, and I was big on that when I was in school. At my house, I can't throw away a plastic bottle, an aluminum can, a newspaper. Everything has to go into recycling. And so I'd like to see us put more of a focus on recycling in Pine Bluff, Jefferson County.
Well, to answer your question, sir, the money that goes to the Jefferson County Pine Bluff Recycling Center, the majority of that grant money came from or comes from ADEQ. And in 2014, ADEQ declared that they wanted a regional recycling center. So with that, they involved SEAD in making sure that SEAD was involved in this redistribution of that particular center you're talking about on Ohio Street and expanding it. And that happened. There is some misinformation going on that all the monies, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that this recycling center makes is going to the county, and that is not the truth. The monies that, if there's any monies made from this recycling center, number one, it goes back into the center to expand it. So a satellite, what you're asking for, that will be coming in about another year or so. That's part of the plan for having a regional recycling center. They want satellites throughout our city and throughout Jefferson County to do the recycling. So this is part of ADEQ's plan, not Pine Bluff or not Jefferson County. That was what they declared for us to do, and it was administered by SEAD. So to get to recycling someday, I totally agree with that. We're a little behind on that, but we can catch up. One of the really good things that we're going to do, we're partnered up with the school districts regarding litter in our city. We started a brand new initiative, and the kids are having so much fun with it. It's called Slam Dunk the Junk. And what we have found, we have been doing citywide cleanups since 2013. We, myself, go out into the streets and we pick up trash with our Safe Team suites. And it has been very successful. What we have learned around the city, especially around the schools, there is a huge amount of trash. We decided, okay, we've got to start educating our children. Remember the Don't Litter campaign years ago? Well, that has been forgotten. So now we have restarted this campaign, Slam Dunk the Junk, and we're going out to the schools, myself, and we're doing a video, and we're educating the young people. Don't litter. Don't litter anymore. Thank you.
All right, audience, if you could please hold your questions so we could get back to the scheduled programming. Last question, candidates, from there. How important is transparency in your position for public office? And how would that carry over should you be elected?
Transparency. We were elected in 2013 on the basis of accountability, transparency, and honesty. And those are three huge words that I take to heart. Transparency. Our door is open all the time. Anybody can come in and ask questions. They can call us. The news media, they call me, they have my cell number. They know exactly what's going on all the time. We even send a copy of our schedule to the media every day. Transparency is huge. That's what we build upon, that's what we have built upon. Honesty, yeah, it's huge. Integrity, it's huge, yes. And moving forward, we will have the same principles moving forward as we've had since 2013. We have, within our departments, we have communication constantly going on with our departments. We have communication with all of our alderpersons. We send out emails on a daily basis. And so what we are doing now, we will continue to do. And it is based upon transparency. We work for you. Nobody else except you. And if we don't have that open door policy, and if we're not transparent, then it's all for naught. But I take that very, very seriously. When someone says honesty and integrity and transparency, I take it very seriously, because that's one of the things that we have strived to do since January the 1st, 2013. Thank you.
If any organization, any unit is going to work together harmoniously and successfully and be totally productive, transparency is key. If I was become your mayor, you elect me as your mayor, you wouldn't have to question whether there is total transparency, because there would be. The council would be privy of all information, everything that's going on prior to council meetings. My understanding sometimes with council members now is that they don't know what's happening until they read it in the newspaper. And I've seen and heard that many times. Whether that's actually happening, I don't know. But I would make sure that I'm totally transparent and working with the council members, making sure that sometimes we even would have retreats so that the council members and the mayor could form partnerships and relationships so that we can make sure that we're always on the same page. Not only transparency between the council and the mayor's office, but transparency between what's going on in the city and what's going on in the with the citizens, letting the citizens know totally what's going on. So I think transparency is key, and I would make sure that that goes across the board. It's all mayor.
All right. Dr. Wilkins, we're going to get you involved now. We're going to move along. But before we do, I would like to introduce the runoff candidate for Alderman Ward 2, Mr. Lloyd Franklin Jr. All right, Dr. Wilkins. What is the primary function of the county judge, and what makes you uniquely qualified to run for county judge of Jefferson County?
Thank you for the question. Excellent question. Because many times people get various levels of government confused. I've had people say to me, I'm going to vote for you for county judge because I've known you all these years, you're a fair person, and I know that you're going to hand out justice to those criminals. I have to remind them there's a difference between a judicial judge and a county judge. The county judge is to the county what the mayor is to the city. And so therefore that person is, in one sense, an administrator, but also a person who casts a vision for the community, for the county, about working together, making sure that there is true openness and transparency. And one of the things I've prided myself on over the years is making sure that people understand where I'm coming from when it comes to the issues. And I say that because a lot of times people who are classified as politicians, which I'm not a politician per se. I've been elected a number of years, but I'm not a politician. But the point is that leadership is not just about checking to see which way the wind is blowing. Leadership is about casting a vision, about helping people to have a sense of hopefulness and finding ways to encourage ourselves and our community. And that's what I'm going to be about. I'm going to work hard at that. In the legislature, I've done that. I've had people from every part of the state that I've worked with who had come to whatever committee I was chairing and helped to make it possible for those individuals, y'all excuse me, no Rubio jokes, please. Helped to make it possible for the goals and aspirations of those individuals to be fulfilled. And so that is what you can get. You can count on me for that. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Good evening. My name is Thelma Walker. I am one of the older persons for the First Ward, and I am directing this to, and I always say Senator Wilkins, but Judge Wilkins, and because he will be soon in charge of what my concerns are. Now, at first, when we had a recycling, we started a recycling under Carl Reedus, which was on Pennsylvania or whatever. And then it moved behind Pope Furniture Company. And it was Pine Bluff Recycling. And when the mayor came in, she signed an agreement without the knowledge of the council with Judge King. And then it became Pine Bluff, Jefferson County Recycling. And then it became Jefferson County Recycling. And Pine Bluff, at this point, doesn't have anything involved. And I wanted to know, under your administration, would you come back and share with Pine Bluff of the recycling?
One of the things that you'll hear from me throughout the night, depending on how long we're here, is the whole issue of collaboration. And so my answer to your question is yes. It's important that the entire community, and one of the things, with no disrespect to any of the people who are currently local officials, but the reality is that there is not enough communication, I believe, between the county and the various communities, the local cities. We need more of that, because the more collaboration you have, the more vested in every project each community is, the more you can accomplish. And so my answer to your question is yes, I'm going to work very hard to make sure that everybody has a part to play in that. Thank you.
Do we have another question from the audience?
I have a question for Mrs. Washington. I have a question for Mrs. Washington. If you were elected mayor and working with the city council, we have seen over a period of time on television the council chambers or the proceedings are televised, and we can see what the dynamics taking place in those council meetings between those members. Some come prepared, some they have to wait and let them catch up on the proceedings before the actual meeting gets started. How would you handle that?
How would I handle that? Good question. Having been a leader for many years, managing some very gentle people, and then on another level, some very tough people, I think that would be pretty easy. The first thing that I would do is make sure that I have built a solid relationship to the best of my ability with each one of those people. Also making sure that they are apprised of everything that's taking place on a level that I need them to be apprised, and that has to do with what? Transparency. So I think that if I make sure that transparency is established across the board, they're always informed of what's going on, there has to be also an atmosphere of mutual respect established. And then if the older people are sometimes disrespectful, as I would always tell people when they were working with their children, we have to be the change we want to see. So I can't move to their level, okay? Anytime there is some dissension in the council meeting, immediately following that council meeting, I'm going to meet with them and address whatever that was out of order, maybe whatever that was, I'm going to address it one-on-one, as need be, or possibly as a full group. I feel that the key here goes back to relationships. And we have to make sure that we build the best solid relationship with the council people out of mutual respect that we can. I won't be able to choose the council people. The citizens do. They vote on them. So I will have to be able to form a good solid relationship with each and every council member so that the in-house fighting will cease and that we're working harmoniously together, because that's the only way we're going to bring Pine Bluff together and make it one Pine Bluff stronger together.
All right, Senator Wilkins. Another question for you. How would the budget that you receive be used to perpetuate the things needed by this community? What are some of the incentives you would propose from the Office of County Judge to encourage private industry to bring their employees and their families to Jefferson County?
Thank you. Basically, you're asking a question about economic development. And of course, jobs is paramount. We recognize that our community has the highest unemployment of any community in Arkansas our size. Therefore, we have a lot of work to do. And one of the things that we need to do is create an environment where business is willing to locate. Also, as county judge, I would make sure that I get on the front lines of that recruitment. And many times we get so bogged down in dealing with the little bitty stuff and putting fires out here and there that you don't really get a chance to live a vision and walk that vision with faith and strength, knowing that you will be able to accomplish some things. Sometimes people get turned down and they just forget about it and just become a maintenance person. But when you're on the surgical table in critical condition, you don't need a doctor to stand over you and maintain. You need someone who's going to take action. And I've been involved, and even right now I'm involved in some community development activities, and they will bring jobs to this community. And when we do that, our community will begin to improve. Respect for one another is one of the things that I'll do as county judge. And I know we've already talked about that here. Mr. Washington talked about that a little bit. But I just want to add additionally, transparency means not just that the community reads it in the newspaper. Transparency means, first of all, that when the issue comes up, especially when it's a critical issue, that the members of, whether it's the quorum court or whether it's the city council, that they have access to that information. And then the person who is the leader, as you asked me, what would the county judge do? I would make sure that we have open communication with the community, and I would never let, for example, the Plaza Hotel or Harbor Oaks or someplace like those leave our community, close down or shut down without taking positive action, if that means that the quorum court had to meet every day for 3 weeks until we figure out what we're gonna do, that's what I'd do. And that's why I keep emphasizing the importance of collaboration. Because in my opinion, and I've said this before publicly, when the buildings on Main Street started to fall, some people said, well, you know, the city needs to hurry up and do this and that. I would pick up the phone as county judge and say, look, Mayor, I want to meet with you and the council members, the quorum court members want to meet together. We take some of the equipment from the county, some of the equipment from the city. Let's get down here and get those bricks off of the Main Street. There is no reason in the world why a city of this size should have Main Street cut off for almost 3 years. And so a lot of times it's not just about whether you have the money to just say, hey, street department, go out there and work 24 hours a day. You may not be able to do that. But if you think creatively and you work with others, you can get so much done. Thank you.
I've got a couple of rebuttals that I would like to make here. First of all, number one, we're talking about transparency and communication. We learned going into this office that information was not being communicated to the public. So we started town hall meetings where people could be informed as to what's going on. The town halls, the attendance at the very beginning was huge. As people started learning about different information and things that was going on, you could see the attendance start falling off. We created a website, keeping information, and Facebook page, keeping information out in front of the public. Now, as far as communication to the council members, that is a two-way street, not one. And let me emphasize this. When we started in 2013, we had a company that decided that things were not going very well as far as communication. So they paid to bring in a consultant. For 2 days, we had a workshop. For 2 days. The majority of the council members attended, and we had a great time. We communicated on all levels. We had a good relationship, and we knew going forward that this is what we needed to do. And it was very effective for a while. People need to understand that when you do not have the same agenda as far as moving the city forward, it's not going to work. It will not work. Every elected official has to be on the same page. And we communicate, they get the daily communications from our office by email. I can't help it if we have some city council members that choose not to read their emails, but get the information in the newspaper. I can't help that. I can't help the fact that you have to mail them information rather than emails, and you have to send them fax. And when you send them fax, the fax machine's not on. I can't help that. I have nothing to do with that. They are an elected official. They are responsible for receiving the information that we send out to them. That's how we do. We do communicate with each and every one of them on a daily basis. Now, understand this as far as downtown goes. When you look at the situation with the Band Museum building, the VFW building, and the Cons building, you have got common walls between these buildings. You have got space between the Simmons building and the VFW, or the Band Museum building, that's probably this far apart. So it's not just going down there and using bulldozers and backhoes to knock the buildings down, because you can absolutely destroy the Simmons building next to it. So you have to be a little more meticulous, and you have to have a plan. as to how you're going to do all of this.
That's time.
Ma'am,
There.
thank you.
I'll finish.
I'm not sure we need to go into rebuttals this evening, because I think this can become quite heated, because I think that everybody might have a response to everybody's question. I don't know what the rules were
If your name,
from the very beginning.
your name was mentioned, and I think hers was mentioned.
Is that what we were told from the beginning?
We didn't
Do we have rules?
We didn't do any rules. We just thought we'd have a friendly discussion.
Well, I think that if you do another one of these, we need to have rules from the very beginning, so that we all have a clear understanding.
And I'm not sure, I'm not sure that there was a rebuttal called for. I wasn't suggesting that you, Mayor, sounds like you were responding to what I said. I'm just simply saying that there are ways, and I'm not talking about going and knocking down buildings. I'm talking about the bricks and things in the street that keep people from going up and down. So I wasn't directing that at you. My point was, and I will stand up on this point forever, and that is, we have to learn how to work together. And sometimes, and I'll just give you a couple of examples. I've been in the legislature for many years. When people who work at the local level come to the legislature, if they've been a mayor or a county judge, they come and they discover that the environment is totally different than what they are used to having worked with. And that in fact, it takes real collaboration to get legislation passed at the state level. And that means a lot of hard work, a lot of midnight calls, a lot of going back and forth to people, and flexibility in order, because you can't always get everything you want the way you want it. And so that's simply what I would say, that there needs to be more and more collaboration. That wasn't directed at you. Therefore, I agree, we don't need to make this a rebuttal night unless you want to rename it, and then I'm willing to move along. I'm willing to rebut.
I think you just did, didn't you?
We have State Representative Vivian Flowers among us as well, and she has a question. To your point, Mrs. Washington, these are real issues that affect real people, and sometimes, as we all know, political atmospheres can get a bit tense. And so, but
let me calm everybody down. So I would like to ask a question about the future. And I would like to ask that question by prefacing it with something that I have observed, and I'm sure that Senator Wilkins could speak to since he served many years in the legislature, and that is that there are many regions across the state where you see incredibly synchronized, strong, effective collaboration. Especially, I think the best example is the Northwest Arkansas region. The Northeast Arkansas region. Bedroom communities like Conway, Bryant, Benton. And I saw that play out at the Capitol, where there was a legislative agenda, and you had city, county, local government officials working together with their state officials and in concert with federal support. And I know the political dynamics are different everywhere, and I'm not suggesting what it should have been. I'm suggesting that in the future it can be the same for Southeast Arkansas. And I'll just ask for every candidate on the panel how you would help facilitate that to happen in Southeast Arkansas, with, of course, Pine Bluff as the nucleus.
1 minute.
And candidates, just for the sake of time, could we have a 1 minute response from each individual, short, sweet, informative, please?
I'm not sure what the question is, to be honest with you. If she could just repeat the question.
The question was, how would you facilitate in your public office the correlation has seen in all of the areas across the state that she just mentioned, because that's lacking here in Pine Bluff. So how will you facilitate that cohesion? Southeast Arkansas.
The collaboration, reaching out and partnering, I think information, sharing information with one another. If something is going on the state level that affects our area and our city, then I would hope that our senators and representatives will reach out to us and let us know what is going on. At the same time, we have got things going on within our city, issues, events, whatever it may be, in which our state representatives and our senators can share in on or help promote it on the state level, then it's up to us to communicate that to you. It is a two-way street, as I said earlier. Communication is always two ways, and it has to be respectful. One of the things, you have to respect the position. You may not like the person, but always respect the position that the person holds, because the people elected that person to that position.
The ultimate goal would be, if I'm elected, to make sure that we make Pine Bluff, one Pine Bluff, stronger together. And I think that's what's happening in many of these communities across the state that Representative Flowers mentioned. And for that to happen, we have to make sure that, number one, we listen to the people. We have to hear them. We have to address their concerns to the best of our ability. Then we have to communicate with the people. We have to make sure that unity is established. We have to make sure that there's unity between the mayor's office and the city council working together, that there's unity between the local government, the state government, the federal government. Did I leave out the county government? Because we have to work with the county to make sure that things are happening in our community, and that's going to be very important. Unity among the citizens, keeping the people involved. And as I said, if we do those things, I think we can see our city coming together, thriving, and truly becoming one Pine Bluff. Stronger, what word? Together. Say it again. Together. How do we do it? Together. Thank you.
Give me an H. Thank you for the question, Representative Flowers. My father was a professor of political science for 37 years at UAPB, and he served 10 terms in the legislature. And I would see him and hear him talking to other legislators, and over he would say to them, people from our area, Southeast Arkansas, we've got to work together. If we don't work together and collaborate and pool our resources, we'll lose out. And while he was saying that to them, and they refused to really work together, Fayetteville and Bentonville and Springdale and all were progressing. They would have fights among themselves, but then when they got to the legislature and there was something that could help their part of the state, they put the other fight to the side, say let's work together on this. And I'll close with this so I can be as timely as possible. Several years ago, we decided within the state of Arkansas, working with the Veterans Administration, that there would be a VA home in Northwest Arkansas. And so the fight was, well, which city would it be in? And they got to fight, and they fought for about 5 seconds. And then they stopped and said, you know what? It doesn't matter. We just need to get it in our area. And once they did that, it ended up in Fayetteville, but they didn't care because it's still accessible to that area of the state. Thank you very much.
I'm not much of a public speaker. I think I can agree with everything that they said as far as government, everybody working together, but I just want to kind of touch on something a little bit different. I want to touch on the citizens. The cooperation and the willingness to work and push towards a common goal with the citizens. and I think I may have talked to Ms. Washington about this. I want you guys to just think back for a second. You know, there's a lot of scrutiny that under the 8 years of Carl Reedus, the city died. The city was dying long before that. The population was declining long before that. This is back when Carolyn Robinson was the mayor and she took a trip to Japan or something like that to go look at a sister city to try to turn the city around. Population has been declining for so long since I was little, so let's just face it. But the question is, how do we turn it around? I want you guys to think back to when they first built the mall. When they first built the mall, I want you to picture Altimer, Star City, Wabaseka, Gould, Grady. They were all prosperous cities. They had stores, small shopping centers, things of that nature. And then we built the mall. Well, once we built the mall, they stopped shopping in their own towns. They started coming here and shopping in our mall, and their cities, their stores, and their shopping centers shriveled up and they died. Now, here we are today. We don't even shop in our own stores. We drive to Little Rock. The only reason that our stores we have here are still open because those same people in those same small towns still come here and support our stores. They support our mall. We don't support our mall. They support it. Now, here's the thing. You can't blame a person for wanting to go to Little Rock to go and buy what they want in the mall or to go shopping or go out to eat because you work hard for your money. So the question is, how do we get stores and shopping centers here where we can keep our money here? It all goes back to a concept of Black Wall Street. And I'm not saying keep everything black. What I'm saying is we need to keep everything Pine Bluff. We need to keep all of our tax dollars here. We need to keep all of our monies here. When the city does contracts, we need to start contracting with local vendors here. We need to find ways where when we have bonds out there for $2-3 million, how can we divide this up or make outside contractors have to subcontract businesses, local businesses here? That's the problem that we're having. Nobody's gonna give us anything. We have to stick together and make things happen for ourselves.
That's time, Mr. Franklin, but hold on. I'll come right back to you, but hold on. I want to thank the candidates for mayor and the runoff candidate for county judge for attending this evening. Move on to the runoff candidate for Alderman Ward 2, Mr. Lord Franklin Jr. Mr. Franklin, what makes you uniquely qualified to run for Alderman of Ward 2? What do you think is the single most important issue facing the citizens of Ward 2?
I think right now, there's a quote that I continuously have to remind myself of by Martin Luther King. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. I'm actually in office right now, and we have tough decisions to make. And it's not always making decisions that we make are just simply yes or no. What's good for the public, what's not good for the public. As you all know, right now, I'm currently in a runoff election, but I'm fighting an ordinance for a tax for the county. There's a two-part tax right now that Ward 1, 2, 3, 4 in the county may not even know about. There's a $1.1 million millage for library improvements in the county, and there's also a $14 million millage that's coming on the table for a new library in Pine Bluff. Now my question is right now, does Pine Bluff need a new library? Do we need that? With all the new technology out there, there's apps out there where if you're a part of the library, you put an app on your phone, you download a book. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of people that still do use the library. There's a lot of low-income people that use the library, and there's a lot of book fanatics that just love the feel of a book. But my question is, with all that we have right now, and the problems and things that we're trying to achieve, do we really want to spend $14 million on a library? Now that's an issue that I have to take a stance on because it's in front of me. And so this is not a convenient time or a comforting time for me. So I'm fighting the issue because I don't think that's something that we need to do right now. So I think I have the experience of making tough decisions and having to relate back to what the general public will actually want because I'm in contact with constituents. I mean, after all, I'm a product of the community. I look out, I see friends, I see colleagues, I see neighbors, I see some of my educators. I see people that actually have disciplined to me when I got out of line that's not my parents. You know, I came from an area where if you did something bad in the neighborhood, you get a whooping by your neighbors, and then you get another whooping when your parents get home. You know, so I'm not Alderman Franklin, I'm not Justice Franklin, I'm just Lloyd. I'm Lloyd. I'm the guy that was here when Pine Bluff was booming, and I'm the guy that knows where Pine Bluff can go, and I'm the guy that thinks outside of the box to get things done.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Franklin by the audience?
Good evening, Justice Franklin. I have a question for you. The Quorum Court has not made an appropriation to the Art and Science Center in the last several years, 4 years to be exact. Do you support the arts? And if so, how will you support it if you're elected to the City Council?
I'm actually working closely with Ms. Schultz. I know you're probably pretty familiar with her. And what we actually did, Tuesday night, we just had a presentation from the Arts and Science Center on all of the activities and things that the Arts and Science Center actually does for the community. And I think the biggest thing is a lot of Quorum Court members are not aware of what the Arts and Science Center actually does. And it was actually kind of, it was kind of comical because she gave this great elaborate speech on what all they did, and coming behind her was the library asking for $1.1 million, and they just had a paper to hand out to us. You know, so it kind of made the library look like, okay, you're asking us for all of this money, but here she is asking for a small portion of money, and they have a whole lot more programs and things that they do across the board. I'm for appropriating funding for the library, but the thing is that we all have to realize is that there is a shortage of funding everywhere. You may remember just last year that there was a topic on the table about 20% pay cuts for the county. That was real. The Finance Committee actually passed that, and the county judge was actually for that. You know, so 20% pay cuts, that's like your car note in daycare or your house note in your car note. And this is something that was going to pass, and here I am, the youngest JP on the Quorum Court that finds an issue with that, and I'm telling them, hey, you can't do that. And it's not the fact that this issue actually failed because I got enough people or a majority to stop it. I just had enough JPs to realize, hey, this is actually not a good idea. Maybe we need to look at something different. So I had to go to every different department, from the Sheriff's Department, the County Clerk's Department, the circuit judges, and get everybody to the table where we started moving funding around to avoid this crisis. So we avoided this 20% pay cut for county employees as well as layoffs, and then you didn't hear anything else about it. But the problem that we're facing now in the county is that there's I guess it's a common sense of this is the way things has been done. It's been done this way. And that's the problem where we are now, is that every single year our budget is passed on the same. There's no changes, it's just passed on. Now we looked at 20% pay cuts here, but when we got to the end of the year last year, they did the same thing. Budget stays the same, pass it on to the next year. So if we don't get people that are actually accountable for the things that are actually happening on these budgets, or that can think outside of the box for proactive ways to look at things and be more aggressive in our spending, we won't have any spending for anything.
We have businesses downtown, 2 businesses, and the buildings falling impede the traffic flow, so people have to reroute, and sometimes because the bricks change, the routes change, they're not sure how they're going to get around. So, but I'd like to thank you, Mayor Hollingsworth, for making it possible for our clients to get to us. I would like to add to that the buildings have been falling down a long time, and we have some more that may fall. Matthew Hardware has been falling for years, way before 2 mayors ago. And one of the biggest sores that really scare me is the Pines Hotel. If that thing falls, we will really be in a bad shape. So, in other words, what I'm saying is we need to address all of those buildings, the ones that have boards on them, that's not falling. All of those buildings need to be addressed by our leaders. And so that's just something for you all to think about. Now, my comment is I've worked in workforce education with the high schools and secondary education for a long time in higher ed. And every year the high school, we have at least 100 completers at these 4 school districts in vocational education and career education. And when they finish, they have the career readiness exam. That's one of the governor's initiatives. They have concurrent credit available to them through CR, and they have articulation agreements with CR so that they can further their education when they leave high school. So in other words, we have a workforce that is ready to go to work. UAPB graduate about 500 students every year in their 2 graduations. And I am tired of hearing businesses say that we don't have a trained workforce in Pine Bluff. That's an excuse. When these companies come in, I challenge you all, whoever is the mayor and the judge, county judge, and you aldermen, I challenge you all to make sure that these companies consider hiring our graduates and our citizens in management instead of bringing their own management and not giving our town the opportunity for citizens here to apply for these management jobs. If that's done, we'll have more people staying in Pine Bluff. Our citizenship will increase. We won't have to count prisons just to get our population of. We'll have really active members in our community that's working and thriving and adding to people being successful in our town. I challenge you all to, whoever is the leader, the mayor, our judge, and you as council members for our wards, I challenge you to make sure that you're at the table in the decision making, and when the companies come or look at Pine Bluff, that you show them what's going on here, that we have good things going on in Pine Bluff, even though we have citizenship dropping off. I think that if we get the companies, kind of like a cat chasing its tail, we have to exhibit ourselves, the good things that's going on here.
Ma'am, I hate to stop you before the second time. We have to continue. We appreciate your comments. Please take them into consideration, candidates. Do we have any comments? If we could please, yes ma'am, we're coming to you. We could please leave our answers, candidates, in the 1-minute bracket so we can get all questions.
Okay. Were you wanting to make a comment, or did you have a question?
My question was, what are you all going to do when people say that we don't have a workforce, when we really do have?
Yes, ma'am, and I completely agree with you. And we will continue to work with the schools to develop that workforce group. One of the things that I think is wonderful, Southwind Milling, a new company that bought the old Century 2 building, and now they are up to speed and they're in production. When I toured the facility 2 months ago, their first shift, all of their supervisors were local Pine Bluff people. So to me, that is wonderful. I shook their hands, I introduced myself to them. So they are hiring local people. What we have to make sure is that CR and UAPB are flexible enough with their curriculum to be able to train what is needed within these industries. And that's what we can do, to partner up with them and to make sure that everybody knows what skill is needed. And they can adapt to that and make sure that we have those people. So I completely agree with you with that. Yes, thank you.
Let me answer that question. I just.
You want everybody?
Is it everybody?
He's good. In reference to that question, I have to say that I agree totally with what Mayor Hollingsworth said. I feel that we do have to pair up with CR, we do have to pair up with UAPB and make sure that our training is in line with the needs of those companies. And I think that was best said. I agree totally with that.
I agree as well, and I'll just, in this 60 seconds, add just a little bit of history. Part of why we have the problem that we have is that some years ago, not understanding or realizing the potential for consequences that might occur the state of Arkansas, under the leadership of Governor Bill Clinton, who was a great governor and a great president, but they went from VOTEC schools to junior colleges. The curriculum changed, and in the process, we began to lose a lot of what we had. We really should have been taking more and more VOTEC to the high schools, for example, rather than cutting it out at the junior college or even UAPB. UAPB used to have, they used to teach bricklaying and masonry and all those kind of, so my point is, we've got two great institutions right here in Pine Bluff. Why in the world is this community drying up, as some people say? When you have two educational, you realize that other than Little Rock, other cities don't have what we have in that regard. And we have, I'm gonna take this 10, 15 more seconds. We have what's known as intermodal. That means that we have an airport, we have highways, we have train, and we have water. You can do anything when you have all of those in the same location. So be encouraged. When I become county judge, watch out.
I think when someone says that we don't have this and we don't have that, it brings me back to elementary school with the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, and why. When someone says something, they said that we don't have this, then you should ask that person, well, who said that? When did they say that? Why did they say that? Because here in this community, we have a bad habit of taking a rumor and running with it. You know, there was a myth, and you know, that Carl Reedus, when he was here, he did nothing for the city. But yet here we are years later, and under Mayor Hollingsworth's leadership, things are still manifesting now from things that he did when he was in office. But if you talk to those same people, he didn't do anything for the city. But yet here we are with this tax and these improvements, capital improvements we're making, but he did nothing for the city. I agree with Senator Wilkins, Reverend, he holds so many hats, about the vocational. I'm actually on the advisory board for Jefferson Area Technical Career College. That's the new vocational that's coming into place. And they're expanding, and they have all these programs, CNA programs for nursing, they have welding, they have AutoCAD, they're getting a new program for mobile applications. They're booming and they're growing, and they're giving our high school students real life skills. If you didn't notice it, and it hasn't been announced yet, but they're actually going to expand and take over the Forest Park building school there. So for the citizens of Ward 2, that building won't be vacant anymore. There's going to be something in there. They're putting them all under one roof. They have welding there also. Now, the thing is when they say the jobs that we have, one thing, and I'll tell people this, growing a city is I hate to use this word, but it's a hustle. That's exactly what it is. It's a hustle. And college students are the best people to grow your community. Because if you think about it, if you have jobs that are $30,000, $35,000 a year, they're going to come here. They don't care about the crime. They don't care about the schools because they're not bringing children with them. So they are the most viable people to bring here. And once they're here, they build a support system. And then when they start families here and they have children, now you have the trend of educated people having educated students in the schools, and they're more involved. You have superb parent-teacher conferences. You have test scores that are rising. You have people matriculating back to public schools instead of these charter schools that are taking over our community and ruining the funding. You know, there's so many options that are there.
That's time.
And as far as the companies that are here, if we have disciplines in these schools that are graduating and leaving, we need to take our economic development dollars and attract companies that need those people. And that's how we keep those particular disciplines here.
So at this time, I know there's more questions from the audience, but we have reached our end. Hopefully you can catch the candidate walking out. I do apologize. I want to first thank all of the candidates for their attendance this evening. Can we give all of them a round of applause? At this time, from each candidate, we would ask for a 1 minute closing statement, please.
I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. You need to be informed. as to what each candidate stands for. And what I want to emphasize again is that you have to have a business plan. You have to have a plan that you can execute. We have had a plan. We have executed the plan. If you're against crime being down 31%, then don't vote for me. If you're against economic development and moving forward and jobs coming in, don't vote for me. If you're against quality of life and you don't want to improve the neighborhoods and what we're doing and enforcing code enforcement, don't vote for me. If you're against partnering with education, don't vote for me. If you're against city government and improving the services that you get, don't vote for me. I am not your candidate. But if you want those things, we have got them in place. We're moving forward, and we're going to do what is right in a transparent, accountable, efficient way. Please vote for me next Tuesday.
I'm going to keep this very short. I want to thank those of you who have supported me this far on this journey. I don't know what the end of the road will bring, but we're near, and we'll find out real soon. And I will say to those of you who have supported me, and to those of you who are continuing to support for me, if I am elected, I will bring my leadership skills that I have employed in this community for the last 40 years into the mayor's office. And that strong leadership that I possess will make us become one Pine Bluff, stronger together.
I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, AKAs, to get together and just kick up our feet and talk and have fun. I want to close by simply saying that public officials, whomever they are, must realize that customer service comes first. We should be responsive to our constituents. And so I want to assure you, my door will always be open. I never say, and I've heard this, you probably heard this before, where somebody will say, that's not my job. I never say that in all the years I've been in elective office. If I can't do it myself, then I help people find a way to get done what they need. So you'll never hear me say it's not my job, but you'll always see a person with an open door, ready to help, and greeting you with a smile. God bless you.
I'm a product of the community. I was raised here, I was disciplined here, I was educated here. I have a proven track record of being able to work with others, think outside of the box, come up with solutions for a common good of the public and the community. I know there are situations that you guys see, you're tired of the bickering, the back and forth downtown with the city council, and that seems to be the thing that's kind of ringing in your ears. I will say this, there's nothing wrong with debate, but there should be a level of professionalism with debate. There can be issues on the table, and it may come from the mayor's office, and it may be something that I don't agree with, and I will voice my opinion, and I will vote no on it. But the difference between me and other situations that people may not do is, when I vote no, I'm gonna have an alternative answer. I'm gonna have something outside of the box. It's not just a no, it's a no, but hey, these are viable solutions that we can do. There's things that I agree with, there's things that I don't agree with. The splash pad, I didn't agree with that. It may not have been her call on that, and it may have been done previously, but that may have been one of those situations. The community center, I don't know how you feel about it. It's $11, $12 million. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it should be downsized. I think it's a duplication of services. We already have the Coretta Scott King building, the waterfront, Chester Hines, all these things. It's just, a lot of this stuff is duplications. And when we're building these monstrosities, we need to realize we're not a community with 60 or 70,000 people. We're a community under 50,000. We need to start building things that we can actually maintain. It's a big difference in a community center where a chiller costs $5,000 or $10,000 versus one that costs $100,000. You know, we need to start doing more with less and making sure that we're planning our priorities according to where we're trying to get to. And remember, no one is going to give anything to us. We have to make it ourselves.
That concludes the event for this evening. Thank you so much. Let's give Mr. Alexander Watkins a great round of applause. Did a beautiful job. Thank you so much. Don't forget to vote.